Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant-at-Arms. You can now take your post.
Today on Hutcast, Merry Christmas. It is Christmas Eve tonight, and I want to have a conversation about Kimberly J. Potter. My thoughts, the trial, just things in general on that. So for Hutcast, stand by. We will be back shortly.
Are you looking for a home or business security system you can trust? We are ʻpälə́tiks Security Systems. We like to say we've been keeping honest people honest and the dishonest something to think about for over 20 years. We offer a variety of services from home to business security, to home theater, access control, and more. Call us for your complimentary consultation on a system that fits your specific needs. Call our office in Osseo, 763-493-2020. Mention you heard this on Hutcast and you will get $50 off your next purchase. We are ʻpälə́tiks Security.
Welcome to the show. If any of you have been following any type of the Kim Potter trial or the Kyle trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin, you'll know there's a certain theme going on here. First of all, you cannot attach Kim's trial to Kyle Rittenhouse's because there's two different premises here and two different reasons why these people were out doing what they did. Because we had this system to make sure the checks and balances are equal between any type of activity, we have a trial. Now, take Kim's Potter trial, for instance. There's no doubt there was a mistake. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever, watching the video, watching the trial, I watched this and I thought to myself, okay, we're not on a trial, we're on a witch hunt. These people who are trying to witch hunt have stood outside the government center in Hennepin County, and they chant and they rant and they rave and they jump up and down and they scream and they protest and they, you know what? All these people are totally against bullying. Until they're the ones bullying. Now, if you were a juror on this deal, think about what's actually going on outside. Because I don't know if they sequestered him or not. There's no way to find out. I mean, there was no, hey, we're going to keep you oversight. We're going to keep you off the internet. How do you keep someone off the real world news anymore? But these people who are bullying this trial, this from within the Hennepin County property, and you were one of these jurors, what would you be thinking? The one person had listed their name, their number, where they work, what their business was, and he was a juror. So if you've ever had incidences with cancel culture or retribution, would you really think that these people wouldn't go after you? In the beginning of this, the trial was a very speedy trial, and literally, they made stuff happen. The prosecutor, first of all, I think she had her head up her butt and wanted to shift blame completely on Kim. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Kim was in a bad situation. Kim was the TO, FTO, Minneapolis calls them. She was trying to teach her boot. The boot is a trainee. How to, what to, and what not to. Things got out of hand. The second officer showed up. Things got more out of hand. This kid started resisting arrest. And first of all, you're 20. You're a known lawbreaker. You've had issues with law in the past. You've had a bench warrant out for you. You had gotten pulled over for tabs on this 2011 Buick. You had something hanging from your mirror. I don't know. I don't get that part. But, hey, it was from your mirror and it's a state law. So, you suck it up and you take the crap off your mirror. Gotten a ticket for that myself in the past. So this kid does this, gets pinched, gets pulled over. He's not in cuffs yet, which I think is kind of a big thing. You talk about anything but this guy's got a warrant. As you're not in cuffs, the boot couldn't contain this kid. It started in a struggle. We've all heard the news about strong hand versus weak hand, which side your taser's on, all that happens. I get it. And this kid starts to rabbit. Well, you're not code 4, which is everything's all good. You're in custody. Life's, very tameable, because they weren't even at that point. The other officer on the passenger side of the car was probably maintaining and trying to keep an eye on the gal who was in there. You got to watch their hands. You don't know what they're going for. The kid made a dive for the car. You don't know what he's going in for. It's a warrant for a weapons charge. You don't know what he's going for. Kim grabbed the wrong utility, the wrong piece. This kid took a shot and was still able to get in the car and drive away while there's a bullet in his heart or lung or wherever it ended up at. Now, that's not disputable. There's a lot of opinion on, well, she's a veteran. She should have known better. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get that too. But there's always this point of the situation where anybody can make a mistake. Will, do. We're not Jesus Christ Almighty. We are not that can't make a mistake. We're human. And with that, Kim made that mistake. And she knew that it would be a crap sandwich. Now, politically in the news, there's George Floyd. George Floyd was in a bad situation. He was killed with the neck of that police officer. He was on fentanyl. I wasn't on the jury. I wasn't at the scene. I see both sides of that very, very clear and very easily. However, this is far from the Kim situation. This kid was in a spot where he was able to do things, again, not hooked up to his cuffs, and Kim comes up and says that, hey, this guy's got a warrant, and all that starts up. The bridge I'm trying to get to you is there are two different situations. The prosecutor tried to make it sound like this is not a kid problem. This is a Kim problem. Well, if you think about it from the beginning, why would it not be a kid problem? Because he had a warrant? Because he was in violation of a vehicle ordinance? Because of what? I don't believe that. Therefore, for me, when I hear murder 1 or manslaughter 1, which is the same thing in Minnesota, it shows intent with clear discretion. And she didn't have intent. She merely had mistake. So I see murder 2 or manslaughter 2. I get it. Look it up on Google. Googleize the difference between murder and manslaughter. The crap's the same sandwich. It's something that you're just like, you're not getting away from. So as you know, on my show, I post some things on some sites that I admin. And the difference between these opinions is that the far left radicals see hang her high. This is their thing. And the far right guys are completely innocent. But somewhere in the middle, there's the truth. And I still believe that. I really, really believe that this is a very, very difficult situation. First of all, I never would have had the venue here in Minneapolis. It never would have been in Hennepin County. I would have changed venue to a different state, probably where Kyle Rittenhouse's venue was. Because, that kind of worked out for Kyle. But again, different situation. He was protecting himself. He is not a trained police officer. Knowing that, with murder 1, in my mind, off the table, murder 2 or manslaughter 2, how do you sentence that? Well, what's manslaughter 1? 11 to 15 years, 15 years minimum? Or I heard all kinds of stories about this, but the judge wasn't so clear. I think the judge in this case did a great job. She had to really, really dig deep. I can only imagine. And you see the looks on her face every time she had news that she wanted to share, but she had to tell. And that tell was pretty specific. Very, very specific. Her eyes would flare. She would shake a little, and then she would take a deep breath. I can only imagine what's going through her mind when she knows it before everybody else, and now she has to read that aloud. With that, it was very upsetting for her, and there was, what I hear is one of the jurors actually started crying because of this whole situation. Now, in the news, the first part of this situation was manslaughter 2, which did not take them long to decide on. The rest of this time was murder 1, or manslaughter 1. Why does it take this long to manslaughter 1? Because literally, the case that should have proven itself that it was intent, which I don't see intent. She was there on her position. She was on the clock. She was doing her job. That's not intent. That's called working. And if she's working and she's doing her job and she's training her boot, and this crap sandwich comes up, wow. I can't begin to think what's going through everybody's mind. Dante Wright is now dead because of this. And nothing's going to bring that back. The prosecution threw out there, well, one of you is going home for your family, and you have kids here, and you'll have your kids in the family. Oh, come on. Yes, you will. But you know what? One of them's family's mothers is not going home either, because she was taken into custody right away. So who wins? Absolutely nobody. Absolutely zero nobody. The prosecutor says, well, this is a Kim Potter only thing. I've called this earlier. It's an everybody thing. It's the TO. It's the boot. It's the second officer showing up on scene. It's the kid who as soon as he finds out that they found the warrant, oh, wow. I'm not playing armchair quarterback. I personally believe that Kim was in as right of position as she could. I believe the sentencing was completely wrong. I believe that this juror who broke down knows this. At that point, I would certainly call for a mistrial with change of venue, and without malice or prejudice. Mistrial without prejudice or with prejudice. That sends a big signal to the community, the legal community. I'm ashamed of our legal system. Ellis chimes in and says, we can't do this without conflict. Well, how can you not do this without conflict? What are you going to do for conflict? It doesn't make any sense. So Ellis chimes in. What? A political chime when a gal is on a lot of big time and a kid's dead and you want to turn this into a political coup? Waltz kicks in. Waltz is the governor of Minnesota. He chimes in some stupid crap. I'm thinking, you need to go away and support your candy shop guys when the jab is a big thing around here. COVID kicked in. But, hey, that's Waltz. Not agreeing with him on any pages, except for maybe some health and human services issues that he and I have the same agreements on that. I get that. But back to Kim. Back to the situation. Now, do you think for a second that an officer who was paid by the city, who was licensed by the state of Minnesota, is going out training what to teach this new boot? We're going to pull him over and we're going to light him up and then we're just going to shoot and kill him? No. Nope, not even in my worst nightmare could I figure out that would even be logical. What do you think? Think about it as a whole. Now take away the fact that this kid's not going home. His baby has no daddy. His mother has no child, which is completely terrible. Unbelievably terrible. And here we are. So I do believe Kim did have some information that, she should have kept quiet as you're walking up to the car and you say, hey, this guy's got a warrant and he's not hooked up. Most cops said to me that's when you talk about football or baseball or whatever until they're truly code 4. Again, another mistake. She's not going home. Dante's not going home. I don't know. There's a lot here. There's a lot in between this. There's so much. But let's get back to the bullying of the jury system. The jury is every juror on there. 12 people plus some in standby. You go in and out of that place, and you have everybody on that front lawn or that front building step of the city, Minneapolis, Hennepin County, and these guys are eyeballing you. You're walking in and out. They've got people watching cars. So who comes in, who comes out, what's your license plate number? It's not hard to get somebody's plate number and find out where they live. It's completely easy in today's technology world. The judge asked them and said directly, you gave up your holidays. You gave up your days to be on this jury. And they all said yes. Well, I don't believe they said yes with intent. The intent of the bullying, the Black Lives Matter, the whoever's down there chanting this up, everything kind of happens after the fact, too. It's kind of like politics. You're in office for 2 to 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. You've made a lot of enemies. But when it's all said and done, you go home and the enemies are still there. They don't stop because you've moved your position over. And people have a great memory. And they will never forget what you do. They won't forget how you vote, and they won't forget how to hate you merely because you were doing the best you could in the right way. We're kind of a political show. We have many senators come in and have conversations. I still have conversations with people who aren't on the show, and you can't either be far right or far left and not have a whole lot of sympathy for this situation. But the people on the pages in which I run have no issues frying anybody. A lot of them are common sense, but you get these two nut doodle whack-a-jobs on the left. You get the nut doodle whack-a-jobs on the right. They don't understand that politics is a mean of two ends that are come together and make a solution to a problem, a solve. It's going to be pretty interesting in the next couple months. So then you got the appeal. Did the union cover the appeal? Did the union cover the first trial? I can only think, the prosecutor to me seemed a little far left for me, but that's maybe her job. I mean, maybe she's like the Kyle Rittenhouse moron. That prosecutor over there, he needs to flip burgers. I didn't get that same feeling with this gal, but I did get the feeling of she really can't be that stupid. She's painting pictures with watercolors when the defense is painting with oils. So you have this jaded difference of opinions in a situation. Well, let me explain what I mean by that. If you're painting with watercolors, they're not brilliant, they're not bright, they're just colors, they're pigment. But if you paint in oil, you have the rich body of whatever color you're painting, the reds, the blues, the greens. And she just kind of floats things out there and lets everything stick on the wall. And obviously it was reasonable enough to push the jury in her direction on murder 2, but not murder 1. They just, in my mind, did not show intent. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our system. Our system being bullied by protesters, by blocking the streets, by rioters, and really, should we worry about proper people with a trial if there's going to be a riot? So do you become the sacrificial fish at this point because you don't want Minneapolis to burn again? That's not justice, and it sure as hell isn't blind. That's eyes wide open. Let me cover some information, some conversations I had with PDs. Police are good friends of mine. I listen to them a lot. We hang out. We go fishing together. And there's multiple departments here, whether it's sheriff, whether it's PD local, whether it's SWAT teams from Minneapolis. It doesn't matter. I know a lot of these guys. The consensus is, in the community of law enforcement, they're not going to do their job. Think about that. Your people you pay to protect you are scared of getting this done to them. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that's intimidation. That is what's coming out of these crap sandwiches every time there's a riot, every time. And are you afraid? Well, you shouldn't be, because this is your job. You're merely doing your job. But for your job, you can lose your freedom, your finances. Everything can be gone, your family, because you're doing your job. in another episode, I'm going to cover this trucker. I just got to do a lot more research on this deal. By him doing his job, he got 15 years because he missed a runaway ramp and killed 4 people. Is this what this is for the policing industry and the union? Now, I thought the guy was pretty good, the defense, except for the part where he spoke and he couldn't articulate what needed to be done to the jury. He made sense if you could waffle through the raspy, good old boy, backtown something, and I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. When you're on capital crime like this, shouldn't you have the smoothest guy on the planet? Shouldn't you have a Bull? You know, the TV show Bull, Dr. Philip McGraw, Bull. And shouldn't he be the guy who's like the guy of guys? What are we going to do? Call up the TV station and have Bull come down and help this guy? Because I just didn't see him do what he did. He was logical where the girl was not. He was painting different pictures. He's using the oils. The girl was using watercolors. Big difference. Big difference in your life, Kim Potter. Now, Kim Potter isn't too far from the studio where I'm at, and I do wish he would have come on site and had a conversation and saved that audio for when she got locked up, because now she's no longer out on bail. She cannot do it. The judge says, no, it's kind of a flight risk. You know, I get it. Personally, if I said I wasn't going to run and I was in a situation like that, which state is non-extradition? Which country? Because there's the rest of my life I'd stay, and that would suck. But, you know, she stayed to everything else. She did her job up to that point. At what point is your job worth your freedom? Do you want to be a cop? Now let's talk about how it got here. I am completely on page with the black community, with the European, with the Japanese community, with every community that says, hey, you get pulled over for any reason. One of my black buddies says, driving while black, DWB. And I thought, you know, he's been around a long time. He's probably been pulled over a lot. I get it. And then you get those cops, the rogue cops, the 1%ers of these cops, maybe the 0.5% out of all the PD in the world, that 0.5% are a-holes. Now, mind you, it doesn't help to spin them up on the side of the road, and when you're pulled over, you want to start, you know, fighting this guy, because you're going to lose. They got way more guys. But if you're that guy who wants to BWD or DWB while driving while black, and you're constantly getting pulled over, and you get that one kid in school that always got his butt kicked, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to teach everybody out there that he's got a badge and a gun. Yeah, I get that. I get that. I agree with that. You can't have the 0.5% of people making policy for the rest of the people, i.e. Kim Potter, i.e. Derek Chauvin. That's a big crap sandwich too. Well, you know, we don't know what's going through Derek's mind when he did that. I have no idea. I know some people who rode with him for many years. They understood who he was. But when you have that 0.5%, and everybody knows it because it's very, very public. I mean, let's look at this show. We're everywhere. We've got a lot of listeners, and we are having this conversation about the U.S. in Africa, North Africa. We get to Australia. We are right now to the point where you kind of probably have heard us, and I'm okay with that, because maybe in your city, in your country, in your area, your world, you have the same things, but you can't stop it. Yeah. Yep, I get that. So the community, these people that make this difficult for the rest of them. And if you're BWD or DWB, driving while black, and you constantly get pulled over for doing that, that's wrong. That's as wrong as it gets. But if you have a warrant for your arrest, if you have tabs expired, if you have crap hanging from your mirror, if you got guys hanging out your window and you're doing your shit, and you still do that, that means to me, you needed to be pulled over. It's not a color thing. It's an act like an a-hole thing. I'm sure some of the people on this show will disagree with me, and you have that right to disagree. I no longer fault you for it, no more than you should fault me for my opinions. You have your opinions. This is called politics. This was a politics type of trial. Politics is a very big player in this, especially if you got Ellison out there going, hey, we're going to do this and this. And oh, whoa. You didn't hear much out of Freeman, just Ellis. So ask yourself out there, in radio land, I don't say radio, just kind of radio, what would you do? We've all been pulled over. We've all had that one cop that's had a bad day, and you're it. You're the guy he's taking it out on. You go too fast. He gets a toe jam, whatever his disgusting excuse might be to go and beat up on somebody. We all had that guy. But remember, it takes two to elevate this. He ain't just going to come up and start beating the snot out of you. I'm sure maybe it has, but those guys are going away. There's just no reason for them to do that anymore. I know a guy who came out of Brooklyn Center who was a street cop, and he got moved to a different agency because he beat the snot out of somebody. Well, okay. Why is he still on the job? Well, because the union kind of protected him. I don't agree with that. The union shouldn't protect him. He should be relieved of duty. You should be gone. But they moved him to a podunk nowhere town where anybody can just exist, just be there. Now, I don't know what the reason why he's there. Why didn't he go way up north? Or why didn't he? I don't know. There's some stuff there, it doesn't pass the smell test for me. But he's still there. He's a good guy. I mean, I like all of them. But there's always, how's it go? The rest of the story goes like this. And you never hear the rest of the story. So next time you're being pulled over for doing like 150 and a 30, and the cop starts going irate on you, think about that. I mean, really, who hasn't gone 130 in a 30? I mean, it's only 100 over. Kim Potter's thing is a complete tragic. Justice of our system is just, it's disgusting. I don't agree with it. Then people don't agree with me. That's the point of your opinion. That's the point of you are entitled to your opinion, or you've earned your opinion. I don't know. I've been thinking about this show for the last couple of days. I've watched the trial on TV. I just had a hard time with doing this one. And realistically, we should all have a hard time with doing this one. In the long run, we are going to pay for this. Not financially. We're going to pay for this with our security. You heard what I said earlier in the show about these cops not wanting to engage? They want to run around and do well checks and make sure businesses are getting broken into, and they want to do anything but pull traffic duty. Talk to the traffic guys. If you know some traffic guys, if you're close to them, if you're not one of the inside, they don't open up. So you kind of got to know someone who knows somebody to get some real good intel. And of course, you cannot quote them. They don't want this out there. I don't know if I can blame them. That industry is going to greatly suffer, and then we are going to suffer because of it, because now we are going to have a lawless society. They are so bullied into not doing their job again that the perps, the pukes who are doing this, have bullied them into a submission point. And if you're out there saying, yeah, they should be bullied, you're missing the point. You cannot bully a complete industry because of a few bad apples. If that's the case, let's talk doctors. Let's talk these doctors out there who are prescribing and practicing, and people are dying. And we are going to have a show about, we're trying to get a bill into the state of Minnesota about medical facilities. The Right to Try Act, the being able to have more than one proxy for someone who's vulnerable. And it's going to be a show about shows, and we are still going to have this out there. We're going to say, okay, with this proposed bill, we're going to write it up, send it through the House, see if it goes to Senate. It will be a quite interesting conversation. I believe that things need to change. I believe that there are people out there that shouldn't fight the system, and I believe there are people out there that should fight. And the color of your skin does not pick the fight you're going to be in. There's right and wrong, not black and white. That's my feeling. But we are like 33 minutes into this segment. We're going to have one special Christmas show. I don't want this to be doom and gloom. There's a lot to be thankful for in the world. But let's be thankful for the ones that we do have, the ones that are here. It's a short ride. It gets shorter every day. Ride being our life. We like to just kind of enjoy what we've got, not fight it all, and just kind of live our lives. I've always thought to myself, the radical left gets off on crisis, and the radical right gets off on scandal. I would think that somewhere between scandal and crisis, there's got to be some common ground. Bipartisan is a very, very slippery slope on both sides. And if you're on the left and you start slipping on the right, then your people start eating you, and vice versa. If you're on the right and you start slipping left, the right starts eating you. Why energize your brain? Why energize your politics into just these people? Do what's right. Do what's in your heart. Do what makes sense. But then again, maybe it makes sense to me and don't make sense to them. There's the listening part. The politics. How can I listen to you and learn something that I don't know? Because I have never been in your shoes, vice versa. But if you close your mind off, 100% you're going to be failing. Let's not fail. Let's grow. Let's grow as a society. Again, Merry Christmas, everybody. We are a show of many things. We also believe in the Lord Almighty. We also believe in fair and just. The Kim Potter thing was not a fair and just trial. And I hope that your Christmas and your thanks, or your people around you, I have many more days of that. And again, I very much sorry for the Potter family. I feel sorry for the Dante family. They are their first Christmas without this. And my hearts go out to both sides. And again, I say it by sides. It sounds odd. It shouldn't say sides. It should just say it out to them. 35:12 into this segment. I'm going to throw some commercials pre-post. Thanks again. Merry Christmas to all. To all, the good night. Hutcast is signing off. And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.